Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. A change of pace today. AMSL Aero is a company trying to make many childhood dreams come true. Sort of. Flying cars. Kind of. The Sydney headquartered business company was founded by aeronautical engineer Andrew Moore and former Google executive Siobhan Linden in 2017, and its aircraft, known as evTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing, lifts and lands like a helicopter, but flies like a plane. The CEO of AMSL is Adriano Di Pietro, and I welcome him to the studio. Adriano, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Yeah, thanks, Sean, for having me.
So tell me about, this is kind of childhood dream stuff, and I must say we picked this up because there's a great story in the Fin Review about a fundraising that you're doing, but just give me the history of AMSL, where it's come from, where it's up to.
Yeah, sure. Look, the company was founded in 2017, and about that time, a few years earlier, there started to be a bit of a surge in what was being called advanced air mobility. So this idea, like with the electrification of our cars, that we could see a green electric future for aviation, but also with some of the other technology that was developing at the time, digital systems, everyone says AI, but a bit of that too, that maybe these aircraft could do something different. And that was where this vertical takeoff and landing piece comes into the story. And all of a sudden you start to think about aircraft that could point to point, land on a dime, do it cleanly, guilt-free, quietly, more safely. So we talk about things in electric cars being simpler, Same thinking with aircraft. And so I think it was really with what was happening internationally around this push toward what was being called advanced air mobility, that certainly Andrew and Siobhan, coming out of some work that they'd been doing, had seen an opportunity here in Australia. And that journey has then progressed. So from 2017, the company was supported by some really great investors. IP Group was one of those that came on really early, sort of spinning the technology and idea out of University of Sydney. And looking at the opportunity to develop our own evTOL here in Australia, leveraging great competence in aeronautical and aerospace engineering that we have for many years. Boeing's largest presence outside of the US is at Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne, but also off the back of some projects that had happened here in Sydney, the Yamaha helicopter project, which was known to some, and bringing that team together around really going hard at this race that was happening. And I would say perhaps a bit of a hype curve, certainly the upward trend at that time. And, fast forward, through COVID, getting off the drawing board, out into ground-based testing, end of 2024, AMSL Aero joined one of only a few companies in the world to flight test their prototype. And so really, if you look at what's happening in this space, stuff of dreams, as you said, flying cars, sort of. We're now venturing into a space where this is real. It's there are a lot of renders out there in this future idyllic world, but we've got real aircraft prototypes that are flying, and we are now on a race for scale up. In fairness, where the opportunity is becoming certainly very real right now, and the runway that we've got to get to market with a commercial product.
Okay, so I've seen a picture of their vehicles. Just explain what they're like. And they literally hover take off and land, but then I think 300 kilometres or something rather
an
hour.
That's right.
Yeah, so explain that.
Yeah, so it's to your point of the flying car, sort of. These are still an aircraft. So people, I think, relate most to when we describe them similar to a drone. These are a large drone that can take people and cargo, 500 kilos of payload, in fact. And what you'd see when you see our aircraft is a design with multiple rotors. So we have 8, 4 on each side, 2 on each fore and aft wing. That's all about safety and redundancy, but it's also about the lift we need to get such a large aircraft off the ground. And as you say, take off like a helicopter, so vertically off of those rotors. And then our aircraft uniquely tilts those rotors forward and then starts to fly forward like an airplane. And we actually have wings like an aircraft, and that's where we hit those 300 kilometre an hour speeds. So take off like a helicopter, fly forward like a plane, and then land like a helicopter.
Okay. So many questions here. So they're electric?
Yes.
Right? Are they for passengers or are they for cargo?
Both is the short. I mean, we have a few first customers that we're really focusing on aeromedical applications. So that's absolutely for people.
So that could be a medical person, a doctor in there trying to get somewhere to help out.
An air ambulance of sorts.
Yep.
But absolutely the opportunity that we're seeing with digital technology, with autonomy, with drones and what's developing there, that these would be uncrewed. So no people on board. And you can imagine we could deliver very large payloads point to point.
Okay. Stay with me, Adriano. We'll be back in a minute. I'm speaking to Adriano Di Pietro, CEO of AMSL Aero. You've had test flights. How close are we to reality, to this actually being a thing that someone can go and spend money on?
So certainly our timeline is 2030 for market launch and commercial release, so in the next 5 years. But what you'll see between now and then is a series of testing programs that we will go through. So we will be flying throughout those years on our certification. That's with CASA here in Australia, our certification pathway to get to market. So we really are closer than you think to seeing these regularly in the skies as we undertake that work. There are others in the race, that's for sure. And I think what you will start to see is a surge in the activity around seeing advanced air mobility integrated into transport systems.
Okay, so you're talking about CASA, Civil Aviation Safety Authority. Are they on top of the regulations on this? Are there certain rules around how high you can fly, where you can fly, all that type of thing?
Yeah, really good question. And I would say I think early on there certainly was an issue where technology was leading regulation. And that certainly we've had some early developers. Joby in the US is one. There's Archer, a Vertical in the UK, where there was a journey that they were on where the pathway wasn't defined.
Yep.
That's no longer the case. So CASA has actually been very progressive throughout the years, and we've got a great relationship with them as we've ventured down this path. And just recently, actually CASA was part of a Five Eyes development of a harmonisation strategy for what they call type certification. So how do you certify this type of aircraft across Australia, the US, Canada, New Zealand and Japan? And the UK, excuse me. And so that was really, that has opened up the international market. We can now certify here in Australia with CASA, and that journey of certification will be recognised by those other nations. So rather than having to go there later and do it all over again, it's opening up that international market opportunity for us. And there is a roadmap in place for the certification that you have to undertake. It'll be the highest level of safety in the world, so there'll be no drop. It'll be akin to commercial aviation travel, the planes that you and I fly on today to get around between cities. We will absolutely be at that level, if not higher. So the safest transport system in the world.
Okay, how much will they cost?
So these aircraft will be akin to aircraft you see today, but we're definitely cheaper. So cheaper than a helicopter is today to both purchase and to operate, as well as other comparable sized and let's call it specified aircraft.
Yeah.
So we've recently had an article that the AFR did for us, in fact, where they talked to the price that we're looking at, $4.6 million per aircraft. But when you look at that in the scheme of what a helicopter costs to buy today, what you can do with that, where you can go, the cost of operation of our aircraft will be far cheaper. So in fact, overall, if you average those out, we're about 50% the cost of purchase and operation of a helicopter, but just on operation alone, 75% less expensive.
Will you have to take off from airports, or is there the potential to take off from businesses or even homes?
Yeah, really good question. And that's a space that's progressing. So the one thing that AMSL has a big advantage in is that we're developing an aircraft today that can integrate into our aviation ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So we can sell that to customers, which we've already done with companies here in Australia. When that aircraft is ready and on the market in 2030, they can fly that with the systems that are in place today. What is happening in parallel, and this is actually being led both by CASA, but also other agencies within the government, within industry, is the development of what they call a new standard for vertiports. So this is a next generation of what you might consider a heli landing site would be for a helicopter. Notionally, there's an opportunity that everyone sees that while it's great that we can get to market today with the ecosystem, airports, helipads and the like, there is an opportunity with these aircraft to do more. And that's what the development around the ground infrastructure with the vertiports is looking at.
So in a sense, this is just the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
So where do we end up in 10 years' time?
Look, I expect to see our aircraft absolutely integrated in the transport system, both for passenger, but also for cargo, and even for some of these, if I can say, these special use cases, aeromedical, even defence applications and the like. And so I would say you will absolutely see our aircraft integrated within the transport system. And in Australia, that transport system, aviation already plays a massive role. So for the regions in Oz, where we don't have highways and rail and that infrastructure in place, there are a lot of people in regional Oz that rely on aviation to connect them with what we would consider today in the city as essential services. Yeah. And certainly we see that as one of the first adopter markets within that 10-year horizon. We believe will benefit the most.
I mean, actually, that raises the question, range. How far can you fly?
Our aircraft will be 1,000 kilometres range.
Wow. And
that's one of our differentiators as well. So a lot of the industry right now is actually looking at electric only, so battery electric, akin to our cars, our EVs, that at the moment are only about the 150 kilometre range. And they're being used for what they call urban air mobility, so short hop flights, if I could, jumping over traffic jams, looking at urban areas. We've gone to long range from the start. So with our first concept, we were looking at the long range opportunity for the regions. And so we see that that's a huge differentiator for us, but it also means that our customers can use this aircraft more practically within the Australian context.
Adriano, thank you very much for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
That was Adriano Di Pietro, CEO of AMSL Aero. This is the Fear and Greed business interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed business news you can use. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.